Welcome back. This is the 100 Millionaires podcast. My name is Walter Morello, and I have a shirt that also says something cool. The point is not to work, it's to generate income. Mitch Dorsey's got the 100 Millionaires shirt, and Mike Shine is dressed in a suit and tie. Well, no suit. You got that the Blaze Cunningham hoodie on?
No, just tie. I got some closings today. Sorry.
So Mike, bring us
making
in.
money.
What is your saying? I know we got a great guest today.
Yeah.
I'll let you introduce him.
Okay. Mike Shine, massive income from passive income. Honored to have Peter George, who teaches public speaking. He can go into more of it. He's also a BNI director and a good friend of mine. So Peter George, welcome.
Nice to be here. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you, Peter George. Mitch Dorsey, I know you got questions for Peter. Before we do that, why don't you bring us in with your amazing phrase?
Hey, organize crypto and collect.
Get rid of crypto. Come on. Organize and collect.
Organize and collect, baby.
You got a theme this week, huh?
Theme every week.
So, Peter George, we were talking about bringing you on a while back, and Mike was like, yeah, I could do that. You know, he's in the BNI, public speaking. The joke is with public speaking is that people fear public speaking more than they fear death itself. Public speaking is the number one fear in the world. But you, before this, we were talking about it, and you said, like, I don't teach people how to get over public speaking, the fear of public speaking. They already, by the time they get to you, they're over it. What are people looking to do when they get to you?
Well, they might not be over it. I don't think anybody ever gets over it, but they've learned how to manage it to some degree. That's because that's not the focus of what I do. People will often interpret public speaking coach as, oh, help people get over fear of public speaking. It's a little bit of my job, but it's certainly not the majority of my job. What I help people do is take what they have to communicate to others, learn how to develop that message, but most importantly, how to develop it in a way that resonates with others. So those people are willing to accept what's being said and digest it and process it and take it away with them. As opposed to what many of us do as speaking is we get up and we just vomit on people. We take our information, just vomit on them and go, great job. I was awesome. As a matter of fact, one of the things you never want to hear is, hey, great job, which means they didn't take anything else away to say. Not, hey, I learned this, or I'm so happy you talked about this. I didn't know that. So that simple, great job.
Shoot, I've gotten that a lot.
Yeah, well.
Great job, Mike. Great job.
Yeah.
Great job. Thanks, thanks, Mitch.
So at the end of it,
I like
you
that a
three
lot.
If you three say, hey, Peter, great job.
Now you know.
I like that a lot
Now you
because-
know that's what we're gonna say.
Because after an event, you'll know you did well. And this goes for everybody, right? I don't know if everybody heard this, but after an event, you know you did good.
Yeah.
If they ask you, if they say, hey, I learned this, that was valuable. Not if they say great job.
Yeah,
they tell everybody great job. I've got
Nothing
gets
else to
that
say. I didn't get anything from it. So I'm just going to try to make you feel good because you had the guts to get up there and do it.
Right.
And I'll tell you, great job. I'll give you an example of that. I worked with an executive, and we have a common business associate. And she came up to me once and said, hey, I heard you're working with Mike. I said, yeah, I am. And she said, why? He's a tremendous speaker. And I said, he's a very good speaker, but he's not tremendous, and he knows he needs to up his game. And she said, yeah, but you know what? About 2 weeks ago, I went and listened to him, and he was awesome. I said, what'd you take away from his talk? And she goes, he was passionate. I said, no, what did you take away that would help you, your reason for being there that night? And she went, I said, and that's why we're working together.
Yeah. It's not me, by the way.
Mike, when he said Mike, I was like, oh, bro.
No, not this
you?
Mike, not this Mike. I only called the guy Mike because that's his name.
You know, it's not a very common name here in America. But,
no, you never run across a Mike.
Right.
So Peter, you're right. Like the only reason I even learned public speaking was to teach, right? It was to get people to take something away. I learned a process called accelerated learning. We use NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. I assume that NLP is something you're very familiar with.
Yes.
How did you get into public speaking?
I got into public speaking. I'll try to make this somewhat concise. I grew up with a lisp and a stutter, and I grew up in South Providence, Rhode Island. And it was a great place to grow up. It really was.
Unless you
And
had a lisp and a stutter.
and I had a lisp and a stutter. And when you're 9 years old and you have a lisp and a stutter in the city, you learn to do two things really well: shut up
Right.
and play sports well.
Oh,
So I played sports year round. I got pretty proficient at 2 of the 3 sports. And because if you were in sports, you didn't get picked on. And that's what I learned. But I didn't talk much in school. And when I got into the business world, I still didn't. And I realized that if I didn't learn to communicate effectively, I wouldn't be able to progress in the business world. So the company I was working with at the time sent me for training. They sent me for training in Massachusetts and then sent me for training down in the city, down in New York. And I saw the value. And I've spoken in 6 different countries for 30 years. Absolutely love it. Nothing I ever thought I would do. And for the last 17 years, in one fashion or another, I've been helping others do the same.
Wow, Peter. So I don't know how much Mike told you, but we're part of a mission to build 100 millionaires.
Yeah, he told me. I think it's fantastic.
And public speaking is such an important part in, entrepreneurs getting their message out. So like, it's really cool that that's what you do. In what ways has public speaking changed your life?
Learning to communicate with people
Yeah.
is a game changer. Absolute game changer. Again, we can know, I'll tell you a short story. I'm full of stories, but I know that's the way we learn.
I love his story.
That's a good speaker.
That's the way we
Stories.
retain things, a
Gotta tell
story.
stories.
Yeah.
I was about 3 years ago, I was at a networking event, morning networking event. I'm in line and getting a coffee, and this guy's standing to my right, and he's near my name tag, and he looks at me, and no word of a lie, he looks at me, and the first words out of his mouth are, "I don't need you."
Like, wow.
And I looked at him, and I've never met this guy in my life, and I said, "Okay." And he says, "No, seriously, I don't need you." And I didn't know what to say. And the first thing I could think of was to make a joke out of it. And I looked at him, I said, "I haven't heard those words said like that since my first wife decided to get a divorce." And okay, I'm at a loss. Please tell me what you mean. He said, "I'm pretty good at speaking. I don't need a coach." I'm like, good for you. I'm sure you're awesome. All I'm trying to do is get a coffee and go get a place to sit. And praying, and truthfully, this guy's not sitting next to me.
I didn't even know you were a prospect yet.
So he kept with it. And I hate to admit this. And when I told my wife, I said this that night at dinner, I told her about this. She said, "Why? Why must you?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And I looked at him. I said, "What makes you so good?" And he said, "I have the balls to get up there." I'm like, "Okay." And I know what I'm talking about. And I looked right at him. I said, "Okay, you got to take this in jest. But do you know what the Japanese have a word for it, what they call having the balls to get up there and knowing what you want to say?" And he said, "No." I said, "It's called karaoke." I said, "And how often is that good? Unless your audience has had 3 beers and a shot, you suck." So,
That's awesome.
and not talking about that he sucks, just in general, we do.
I got to know the end of the story. Did you close him?
Oh, no. No, but he didn't sit next to me either after that. And I did say it in jest, but that's what it's called. It's not just knowing what you want to say. That's called vomiting on people.
Yeah.
It's knowing how to position what you're saying, how to open it, how to close it, how to speak about your points and stay on point. So people want to digest and process what you're saying and take it away with them.
Yeah.
And that's huge. That's the difference between knowing your business and knowing how to communicate.
Nice.
I like that, the way you articulated it with the story. It gets me excited. I heard him say the words, "I don't need you." In my head as a salesperson, I'm like, wow, this guy needs me already. He literally approached me to tell me he needs me, even though he used the negative connotation. Like he in his head has already sold that he probably needs me. He's asking me to tell him why.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I knew Walter would take that as a challenge. Challenge.
Right.
No,
Like, sell me on you.
no, I make sure my clients are coachable, and I don't think he was.
No, he doesn't sound like a fun client, but he wanted to be sold. And that's, I like the way you qualify that, right? He wasn't going to be an easy client at all.
No, I
Not
don't
worth
need it.
it.
I'm too old for that.
Right.
I'm
I
way
gotta-
too old for that.
I got a mentor who tells me all the time, it's like, I'm too old and too rich to suffer fools. Let's move on.
All right, I'll go with the too old. I'm not. I haven't gotten to the rich part.
Hey, if you're gonna pick a mentor, right? Pick an old rich guy. Like,
I do have one of those. I do have a
Really?
mentor like that.
Nice.
I just got off the phone literally before we came on here. We started this at 10. At 9:30, I got off the phone with a new client in Ecuador.
Oh, cool.
So shows the outreach of and the possibilities of social networking. He came through LinkedIn, but it's going to be a great client. And I brought him up only because we talked about being coachable. This guy is coachable.
excellent.
Lives in
Are
Ecuador
the
and
stories the same in
owns-
Spanish, right? Like
Excuse
the,
me?
the stories you use, are they the same in Spanish?
God knows.
All right.
He's pretty fluent in English. And hey, I have clients in China who are more fluent in English than I am, actually.
Wow. Wow. You know what? I watched this movie with The Rock yesterday called Skyscraper. So guy's got, one leg, but it's a rock. So it's still got like 3 legs. And then he's climbing the skyscraper and he gets into the building, and the guy who owns the building is a Japanese guy or a Chinese guy, speaks perfect English. The whole premise is that like this building's burning on fire and the rock's gotta do all these impossible things that nobody could ever do, and essentially you can do whatever you want if you have your child in the building, is I think the premise of the story. But what I got out of it was, dude, like everybody speaks English in China. This is so cool. Like the police officers spoke English, the chief of police, he's like putting things together in English, like it was it's really, English has spread pretty far. Peter, how did you get international?
uh, Truthfully, networking, whether it's on social media or face-to-face, networking works. It just does. Mike knows that from the organization we're in together. It just works.
What's that organization?
BNI.
BNI, Business Network International.
As an agent, we have this joke on the show, me and Mike. As an agent, BNI is the worst, right? There's other networking events that pay way better, but as an attorney, as a lender, like BNI is perfect. Like bring all the agents in. Like come on, everybody's got a deal for an attorney, but for a real estate agent, it's like
Yeah, but it's funny. I've been in it for a long time, 15 years or so. And one of the things I learned is if I stuck to the same 30 people I would meet with every week, well, there's nothing wrong with that. And you could get a lot of business. But it's all around the world with more than 250,000 members. And you can reach out to them and start a conversation just by saying, hey, I'm a member of BNI. Just like if you were in Rotary, just like if you were in any other organization, you can contact anybody in the world and have a conversation just by saying, I'm in the same organization.
I used it wrong this whole time. Thank you, Peter. I didn't. Mike never said that before.
You want an example of that? Okay.
Yes,
No,
absolutely.
You have a story?
I have a story. My wife was looking for this bag, this business bag, and it's from a manufacturer in London, and it was limited edition. It was a red because that's the color she loves. She fell in love with this bag online. Couldn't be purchased anywhere in the US. It was sold out. So I contacted the stockist, as it would be called in England, and said, where is one available anywhere in the world? And they said, you know what? As far as we know, the last ones we shipped were outside of Sydney, Australia.
Oh, wow.
So I got on BNI's website and looked for someone in Sydney, Australia. Contacted them. They bought it. They shipped it. My wife got the bag she wanted.
Amazing. Amazing.
Well done.
So it's just, networking in one way or another works. And you stick
It's
with it.
also with BNI, it's what you put into it is what you get out of it. So
Like most things in life.
any networking is just where, like Walter, I actually wanted to talk to you, Peter, about this on the podcast. Walter has this thing called the Dream 100, which is, what would you say, 100 influencers? Is that-
Yes. So 100 people with the audiences that have the people that I want to communicate with.
Excellent.
So I know that Peter, because you know so many people all over the world, that you know some of these influencers, and
I might.
Peter,
yeah.
you've built them. You've built them. You made them stronger, faster, better communicators.
Leap over buildings with one bound.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All of that. Yeah.
A cool story.
Faster than a speeding bullet.
A neat story was, I get books all the time, and one day I get this book. What's his name? David Meltzer. Is that his name? Yeah. Do you remember
Yeah.
this? Yeah. So there's a guy named David Meltzer, and the book comes in, and I said, well, Brenda and I get books all the time, so I really didn't think about it. But then I kept saying to myself, where the hell did this book come from? Brenda, did you buy it? I didn't buy it. No, did you buy it? And finally, let's see, I'm trying to see which book it is. I can't find it right now. Anyways, he and it's autographed. And I'm like, no way, this is really cool. Autograph, I don't know. And it's about have fun, make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun is his tagline. And I found out much later that Peter had somehow, how'd you connect with David Meltzer?
LinkedIn.
Yeah. So connected with him on LinkedIn. And after that, Dave offered to send him a book. And because Peter's such a nice guy, he's like, you know what, send it to my friend Mike Shine. So I have a autographed book of this guy, and he's awesome. Yeah.
He is awesome.
Yeah, he's amazing. So that's a
You talk about networking. I'll tell you how we met. I heard him on a podcast. So I went on LinkedIn and said, David, I just heard on a podcast. I thought you were fascinating. I'd like to connect if you don't mind. He connected almost instantly and then wrote back to me. And this was probably, he's on the West Coast, but this was probably 12 o'clock midnight our time that this is going on. And
yeah,
he said, how's business?
that's awesome.
Wow.
And we started chatting, and that went on for about a day and a half. We chatted back and forth on LinkedIn.
That's cool.
Genuine guy.
Yeah. People are amazing. The people that Mike Shine, Mitch, Peter, we're blessed I think we attract good people, right? So there's definitely been a time in my life where the people that I was surrounded with, I was less than impressed with. And now I've gotten to a point in my life where I'm just absolutely amazed every time somebody speaks to me and I get to communicate with someone, the caliber of the people we're talking to, just great people, honest, they want to see each other do well. And I think it's a testimony to as within, so without, right? The community we're in, the people we attract are just absolutely amazing. What's some good advice, Peter, you'd give to entrepreneurs who are looking to acquire a better group of people, a better quality following, or a better just network? What was your secret to finding a great network?
Put the other people first. I hear people all the time saying, well, I don't go to this networking event, whatever it might be anymore. Why? I don't get any business. Well, here's a very simplified networking, I don't know what you would call it, just situation. If you asked 100 people who went to a networking event, who was there and would be happy to sell something that night, all 100 hands would go up, right?
Yeah.
Love to sell something tonight. Now ask that same 100 people, are you going to the networking event to buy anything? Raise your hand. No one would raise their hand. No buyers? Well, then there's not going to be any sellers either. But not everybody, a lot of people go to sell things as opposed to start relationships.
Right.
It's all about starting that relationship. And are you going to have a good relationship with everybody? No, of course not. But with some people you are. And if you nurture that, maybe it's a sale, maybe it's a connection, maybe it's a mentor, maybe it's a vendor for you, but you create connections that could last a lifetime and that matter. And that's what I teach with public speaking. It's not about us. It really isn't. I find it ironic that if we get up on stage, the spotlight is on us and the audience is in the dark. It should be the other way around. It's the audience that has to be enlightened. It's not about us at all. And I love
Make it a lot easier, right?
Yeah.
I love the fact that people give me money so I can say to them, it's not about you. But it's not. and that takes the onus off us too, which helps with the nerves and everything else. But the more we realize it's about what that audience takes away and that it's all about them,
Yeah.
the easier and better it is for us. And more importantly, it's much more effective for the audience.
I like
And
that.
it's the
You're
same
one of the
in
best.
networking. It's
One of the
about
best.
them.
Oh, go ahead. Say it again.
I said it's the same in networking. It's about them.
About them.
Absolutely. One of the best pieces of advice I got from a coach was stop using the word I. He said, look, use the word you. It's a hypnotic word. It's going to, influence other people. And nobody really gives a shit about you. He's like the truth is when life gets better when you realize nobody gives a fuck about you. They're so obsessed with themselves that you're just if they notice you, it's because they want to know your opinion of them. That's all they're looking at.
So to interject with the I and the you, what about the word we? Like when we look at this property, when you're speaking to people, does that make it we're like a team, or you're better off just using you? Because I have a habit of using we. I don't know why. I just randomly happened.
We is a rapport builder. It's good for building trust, good for getting people on board. It's also good for inspiring other people to do work for you.
Yeah.
I use we all the time.
We is great. You is awesome. You is the next best word to their name.
Oh,
but it's even if I'll break it down to a very, very simple aspect. In my training, we talk when we get to the Q&A part, most people will say, who has a question? Are there any questions? Well, first of all, none of you can answer that. If I said to three of you, are there any questions? Without looking at each other and conversing with each other, you can't answer that question. You can just tell me whether you have a question or not. So the better question about asking for questions is, what questions do you have?
Yeah.
The more you can use that word you and speak to one person, I don't care if there's 150 people out in front of you, you speak as if you're speaking to one person and it just happens to be replicated 150 times. The more you can make it a one-on-one conversation, the more it resonates with each and every person in your audience.
Hey, I got a question for you, and maybe this is our podcast, so it might as well help me.
Yeah.
Sometimes, they always say use people's names, but sometimes, and maybe this is just something in my own head, but sometimes I feel like when people use a name, it's because they've been told in some course to use the person's name, and I always feel sort of contrived saying, so Mitch, what do you think about this? Or
Yeah, the audience member doesn't know that though.
100%.
I think if it comes out every other sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, what do you think about this? So isn't that great, Mike?
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
Mike. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
But used sparingly and in the right places, it's a connection builder.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That was helpful.
And Mike, Mike,
Sorry, Walter.
I want to use it now.
I really liked what Peter said there.
Yeah, no, it was I see what you did.
You have a good point,
And I liked
Mike.
it.
Thanks, Mitch.
Thanks, Mitch. So the lesson there is powerful. And Mike, I'll tell you my excuse. What I use whenever I use a person's name over and over, I'm memorizing it, is I'm memorizing your name because it's important to me. Is that okay? And
Nice.
they're just like, all right, he likes me and he thinks I'm important.
Nice.
I'll keep this guy around.
Awesome.
And it's a powerful tool. The secret language is their name. There's two people that they like more than anybody else in the world, right? The people who are just like them, or people who are who they aspire to be, right? They represent the things they aspire to be. And if you can remember their name, they're like, oh my God, you love me? You love, that's the thing that only I have.
Funny.
When we're talking about, it's not about you, it's about the other people. I tell my client, I tell anybody who wants to listen to this, in 2003, I lost the only person who cared that it was me, and that was my mom. When she died, there was no one left on the planet who cared that it was me talking. They can get the information anywhere. It's how I relate to them and make it about them, not in a contriving way, but in a way that's genuinely about them.
Right.
Which also leads me to wonder why my wife's not on that list about caring about what I have to say.
No, I've been married before. I get it, 100%.
So I wanted to, so like Peter does BNI, and one of the things that we were in a mastermind last night, Peter, and one of the things I mentioned that BNI mentions is one of their core principles or whatever is it's about farming, not hunting. And that's had a huge impact on me, because when you talk about going to those networking events, it used to be when I first went, it was to find a realtor to give me a deal. And that was never effective. And I usually ended up having 3 Jack and Cokes and just being buzzed and wasting money. It's like, but once I started going with an eye to help my friend who's a mortgage guy, or just meeting people in sort of a farming way, it became it became effective and useful and fun. So yeah.
You know, it's the way that human connection is built, is doing the latter of what you just talked about. Think if you were going to a bar to meet women, right? If it's all about you,
The whole
it's
room
not
got
gonna
quiet.
work.
We're like,
Yeah, right,
okay, what are
everybody's
we
paying
doing? Like, what
attention.
is the secret? You know?
Right? It's not going to work. You laugh. One of the things I train, of course, is body language while you're speaking. And I watched CSI or one of the shows like that. And it was a guy. Oh, no, it was Criminal Minds. And it was a guy who taught you how to go and pick up women in a bar. Kind
I
of
saw
an
that
pickup artist.
episode.
You see that one? I'm going, God, that's some of the stuff I teach. And it's so sleazy when he does it. But when you go there, that's networking. You're going to meet people. It's the same thing. And relationships are relationships. Even in BNI, where they call it a one-to-one, it's a date. How do we build relationships, a personal relationship? We get together, and the relationship grows, and maybe to the point of getting married or whatever. It's the same thing in BNI or any networking, even if it's not structured. You get together and build relationships. They don't just grow on their own.
All right, so
What-
now you got to give us some advice.
Yeah, Mike's an expert.
I want
he
some
really is.
building relationship advice, Peter.
Mike's an expert at building relationships.
Thank you. Yes.
I agree. When I first got into sales, I was big into the pickup artist community, so I'm very familiar with how pickup artists operate and things they would say and do. And it was interesting because I would shift over to my sales job, and I'd be having a conversation with somebody. I'd be like, "Holy crap! Like, I'm literally like everything my coach is telling me to do is the same thing my other coach is telling me to do," and like, why has nobody told me to do this earlier in my life? Because this works, like,
It does.
So do you say you must be tired because you've been running around in my dreams all night?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's all, folks. It's been fun.
Try that when we can all get together in person again. Try that at like a chamber networking event. Let
I'm
me know
good.
how
I'm
that works.
off the market and very happy.
Mike, I'm
For
gonna
a
come through
client.
just to do that.
Okay, you do it. Mitch is.
I'm off the market too, but I like to stay sharp. Not. I never want to get rusty. I don't want to be accused of not being able to pick up a girl at a bar.
Oh my God.
But I was out with Dorina the other night, and she was like, "So you could pick up that girl over there?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." And she's like, "Okay, go do it." And I was like, "A pro never like operates on command, on demand. Like I'm here with you. You're my top priority tonight."
Hey,
Yeah,
so I know.
I admitted from the beginning, I got no game.
Nice.
Never did. How I've been married twice, I have no idea. No game whatsoever.
Peter, the
Hey,
secret
so,
is it's all about them. Like
Well,
that's
yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's all about them.
As my wife put it once, did you ever get laid in between marriages?
I have to admit, no. That's why it was so good the first time. That's why I stayed with you forever. I'm just saying, I'm all in. Look, you nailed it first shot.
Yeah, that's funny. Hey, so
That's the secret to 30 years of marriage.
when
Let's give Peter a congratulations, by the way. 30 years. You're beating Mike Shine. He's still got
My
another
best
10
friend.
to go.
yeah.
12.
My best friend every day.
That's the key.
So Peter comes to he's like the director of our Chapter and several others. But anyway, and when
So he's biased, Mike. No
Yeah,
wonder he's so BNI.
and when he speaks, there's always an introduction, and I just wanted to mention this. Peter, how long is it that you've listened to an Eric Clapton song every day? Like
More than 30 years,
every day for 30
every
years.
day. That's how I start my day every day.
And what's the theory behind that?
I like him.
That's when I heard that. I was like, I'm blown away. I mean,
Yeah.
not like the Rolling Stones maybe one day instead. Or
Oh, I'll listen to other music,
yeah.
but some point, usually in the morning, I will be listening to Eric Clapton.
Nice.
And that's been going on even when I was in the hospital, even the day I was operated on a couple of years ago.
Nice. Are those his guitars behind you on the bookshelf?
Those are exact replicas of his guitars. Yeah.
Nice.
Even to the point, this I think is pretty cool. Like this is his guitar Blackie, which is probably his most famous guitar. But anyway, it's retired. And when they did this is from the last known photographs. So where there was wear and tear on his guitar, there's wear and tear on this guitar.
Oh, that's cool.
All the nicks, even on the edges and all. It's truly an exact replica of his guitar.
Walter's that way about silver. Walter's collecting silver.
How did
I'll probably do more than my
about
guitar.
silver today?
He's sitting right there.
Prices are up. We're fighting Wall Street. Everybody buy silver. Let's get those shorts. Buy silver. Drive up if everybody bought 3 ounces of silver. People are ridiculous. Like the guys at the silver stores here in Florida they're like, well, the prices are down because everybody's shorting the silver shares. And I looked at him, I was like, cool, so good time to buy. I'm with it. All right. And now silver is up. Well, I think it's $27 today, but it was up to $30 because I saw this TikTok video and this guy's like, if everybody bought 3 ounces, and I bought no ounces during that conversation because it was up to $30. I like to buy silver where Mitch bought silver. What were you buying at silver? $15, Mitch?
I think it was like 14 and change. Yeah, it was a while. That was a while ago. I've been sitting. It's collecting dust somewhere in my closet. That's what you do with those silver coins. You buy them on the cheap and then you forget about them, and then one day you're like, oh sweet, I got some money.
Yeah, it's nothing like that crypto coin though. That Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm not getting rich off of silver, but crypto, that might
What
be
a
another story.
difference. What a difference. Peter, what do you think about crypto? Like,
I have no clue. None whatsoever.
that was me 3 months ago.
When people talk about crypto, I go, And I
Blockchain.
walk away and say, I have no idea what they're talking
Nice.
about.
Blockchain. And then walk away. Hey, I did want to, so Peter, tell, I know in your background, we didn't really go through, but you also worked for Sony Corporation.
Awesome company.
And what did you do for them? Like, what was your job there?
Marketing.
Okay.
Oh, nice. So what kind of marketing does Sony do? I mean, I feel like they market on a whole, like they just have a great product. In fact, like growing up, I was like, I'm not buying garbage, I'm buying Sony. I even had a Sony computer because just a great company. So what do they do for marketing?
Like every company is constantly marketing. You have to. I mean, yeah, you know the name Sony, but you know the name Ford, you know the name McDonald's and Toyota. Everybody's constantly, well, if they might not be marketing, but then they're not around much longer.
Right.
Everybody's got to market. But it was an awesome, awesome company. I don't know what it's like now, but it was just first class. They treated us like gold.
I gotta know, Peter, what kind of campaign, like it's okay to let it out now. Like the disclosure forms are signed, this is years after Sony's, going to come after you. What was the big secret marketing campaign you worked on at Sony?
I can tell you my favorite one.
All right. I just want to know what a company that size is doing.
Yeah, right?
Even 10 years ago, like I'm just interested.
We did street marketing before street marketing was a thing. Well, street marketing's been around for 150 years, but one of my favorite was we went to, just a few of us went to Newport, and we went down to the Tennis Hall of Fame during a tournament. We took these handy cams. They were brand new, the little Sony Handycams, brand new. And we just passed them out and said, bring them back. We took a copy of their license and said, bring it back when the tournament's done, the match is done, keep the tape. Now the tape could only be played on a Handycam. So if they wanted to watch the tape again, they had to buy a Handycam. But that went from that to my personal demo camera being used on a 12-meter yacht, an America's Cup yacht. It was the first video camera ever attached to an America's Cup yacht.
Wow.
And the yacht I lent it to did not place. So Dennis Conner did. And it ended up on Dennis Conner's Stars and Stripes boat.
Wow.
Wow.
And never got back to me. So when I left Sony, I had to pay Sony because I didn't have the camera to turn in. And I always thought if I ever see Dennis Conner in Newport, I'm going to say, you owe me $1,200.
I had a Handycam also. Sony's marketing crushes it, but
just
nobody
a good
ever
company.
handed me one in a park.
They're just a good company, a real good company.
Absolutely.
I had a buddy of mine. I was in Newport Beach, California for 4th of July one time. And so you were stuck there. Like it's so packed in with cars and everything that once you get there for the weekend, you're not going anywhere. So my buddy goes to like the version of Best Buy back then, and he gets a Sony Handycam and films all weekend and then returns it on Monday. I don't know how he's playing it though, but yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, you always saw people like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, just a good learned a lot not only from Sony, but I have a number of stories that I don't need to go into here, but about my competitors, especially a guy at Panasonic, taught me more about my job than I ever would have known.
Just watching what he would do, you mean?
We got
Tell the
together.
story, Peter.
We
wanna
got
know.
together. We bumped into each other and we started talking, and I told him I didn't know my ass from my elbow, and he laughed, and he'd been at it for 12, 15 years at the time. And he said to me, what are you doing Friday night? And I'm like, nothing. And he said, my wife's away. Let's go to dinner in Boston. We were in Boston at the time. Let's go to dinner in Boston. You pay, and I'll teach you. And for the next 3 years, he taught me my job.
This sounds like every girl I ever picked up. Like I run the same game on them.
You pay.
I got to try that. That hasn't worked out so well.
Mitch, you got to make them pay. But like, look, I'll go out with you, but you're paying, right? Just saying up front.
Never forgot the guy. Never forgot him. He's passed away now. He's much older than I am. But and ever since then, I learned at a very young age, your competition is awesome.
Yeah.
Who knows better than them what you're going through?
Yeah.
And he didn't care. It wasn't
There's
really
no competition. There's just future
Nah, there was enough
partners.
to go around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, like that there's so many like really great moments in this podcast so far. And it's just fun. Just a fun one, really valuable, entertaining, and educational. Peter, if somebody wanted to reach out to you and learn more about you, what's the easiest way for them to get in touch with you?
Easiest way is just go to my website and they can contact me. They can even set up an appointment for a consultation right on my Calendly page there. But it's petergeorgepublicspeaking.com. Nice and easy.
petergeorgepublicspeaking.com.
Now, do you get any people who say, I would love to work with you, Peter, but you have 2 first names, and I don't trust people with 2 first names?
Yeah, I've never understood where that ever came from. I've heard that all my life. I don't trust people with 2 first names. So I tell them I have 3 when they include my middle name so they can work with me.
So then it's good.
So I'm all right.
I like that.
Mike,
At least
I have 2 last names.
right. I got 2 last names. Like what the
Yeah.
hell? I can get an easy first name. Peter George. Yeah, phenomenal podcast. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Yeah,
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
that's cool.
Definitely. If you have any closing advice as we hang this up.
Yeah, the greatest advice is to, as Warren Buffett said, you're 50% more valuable to yourself and your company once you learn to communicate well with people And he truly believes that. And he puts his money where his mouth is when he hires people. And get advice, get help with communication, whether it's written communication, public speaking. Public speaking, go to Toastmasters, no charge whatsoever. You'll meet some great people there, and you'll learn a great deal that'll help you in every aspect of your life, whether it's speaking in business or speaking to your kids or your significant other. It's a way to communicate with others.
Thank you so much, Peter George. And for you at home who are listening to us right now, do us a favor and go to iTunes and click the review button for the 100 Millionaires podcast and write a positive review. It really helps with us getting more ratings and helping more people get access to this kind of information and find out what millionaires do. We do talk to people smarter than us. We ask them for advice. We have fun. We build good relationships. And sometimes we buy cryptocurrency, stocks, and real estate or other businesses, but it's all in a passive, fun way. Mike, why don't you sign us out?
Yeah, massive income from passive income. Thank you, Peter. This was awesome. So great to have you on the podcast. I'm so psyched. Yeah.
Pleasure to be here, guys. Thanks so much.
Mitch Jaworski, round us out.
Hey, organize and collect so you can be one of those 100 millionaires.
I like it. Hey, thank you so much for listening. When you have a choice, always work with the best. Cheers to your success.
Peace.